Welcome back to the Business Edge podcast. Today I have an actual friend here, someone that I've worked with as a colleague, and I'm really excited to talk to him. Brandon Lazar, he owns a couple companies to help home service pros, actually, and I have an intimate knowledge on some of his companies, especially one in particular called Ninja VA, and I'll let him talk about it, but I've actually connected some of my coaching clients to him, and they have loved the VAs. So I've actually seen it work. I love it, and this is one of the reasons Brandon is on. So we're going to talk about VAs. So make sure you stay till the end, because if you think you know what a VA company is, stay on, because the way Brandon does it is a little bit different, and it's special, and it's the reason why he's the only VA company that I recommend to my clients. So having said that, how are you, Brandon?
Doing great. Just pleasure to be alive and, excited to share as much value as we can for the listener.
Yeah, amazing. And that's why I had a couple clients, and I think I've emailed you about it before, that have gotten VAs through you, and they've come back and they just said it has been amazing. And I've seen different companies before, different companies do different things. One thing that I love about yours is, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but the fact of how you vet them. Right.
Yes.
But before we go there, home service companies are listening to this. What is a VA, first of all, and why is this something that I should even consider?
Yeah. So a virtual assistant is basically somebody usually offshore. So typically it's in the Philippines. And ultimately, what we're able to do is use their knowledge, skills, expertise, and bring it into our company so that they can act on your behalf as if they're a local in-person employee, but we're also kind of getting the benefits of the fact that, the Philippines, obviously the going rate and wages are much, much more affordable than it is locally in North America. And with technology, we kind of bridge that gap. And ultimately, they're in a place where they can answer phones, they can send and receive emails, they can work as your personal assistant if you're not great with your calendar. And ultimately, what it does is it frees you up not only to do the higher value tasks in your company, but it also kind of serves as a bit of a layer of insulation so that you can do the things that bring you energy versus take your energy.
Yeah. And this is one thing so I had a misconception at first, especially before I met you. We've been working together for a couple of years, but the initial thought of a VA, especially when I talk to my coaching clients, they'll say, no, I don't want a VA. I want an employee that works for my company. And I say, no, this is what this is.
Yes,
when
sir.
You get this VA works for you. This is pretty much your employee. They work for you. They don't work for anyone else. You're paying them, as opposed to there's some companies out there where you can hire these people to answer your phone, and then they answer the phone for this company, and then 5 minutes later they answer the phone for that company, and that doesn't serve you well. That's garbage.
No, you might as well let it go to voicemail at that point. And that was something that was very important to us in terms of how we were structuring Ninja VA. Is I've always placed a high level of value on exclusive placements, right? So This person's on your team. They're not going to be working for anybody else. And that way they can commit, they can focus, and they can really deliver high level results.
Yeah. And this is the struggle that I've seen. As a matter of fact, I just talked to a local guy that I know. He has a small electrical company, and we were talking about it. He doesn't have anyone answering the phones. He doesn't have any office people. He's doing everything on his own. And that was the major concern. He said, well, I want to hire someone locally, right? And one issue and I do have in-house office people at my company, at my HVAC company, but it's difficult sometimes because when you hire people, you have to go through a vetting process and you have to go through all of this. With Ninja VA, that's done for you.
Yeah. Well, right. And what we always profess is we'll get you a qualified individual for less than half the cost of a local in-person employee. And now, don't get me wrong, to even do a blended approach is totally fine, right? Sometimes you got that long-standing office manager that's just a superstar. Don't go axe her tomorrow and,
Right.
think that you're just going to replace that, right? But yeah, the concept of, you don't have to pay for the government burdens. So even if you're paying locally $25 an hour, it's actually costing you $30 an hour after, the remittances are taken consideration. You also got to get them a workstation. You got to get them a parking spot. You need some sort of an office if they're going to like value their place of employment. And, all those things add up. Whereas with the virtual assistants, we're $9 to $11 an hour, and that's all in. So it's an incredibly efficient way to take care of a lot of this activity that's repetitive, it's menial, and it's just a burden on your entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's important. And like speaking to the point that you're talking about, my backstory is for 15 years, I had a home service business and we grew it really quickly and it got really large. We had 15 work vehicles out on the road in 3 different locations. And really what Ninja VA is it's a blending of, it's a tech company, but it's also an incorporation of everything I learned in the way of HR in order to how to get really top quality, high caliber individuals in any sort of a role. But we've really applied and built out the systems to deliver, on a silver platter, amazing candidates from like the first couple minutes you log in.
Yeah. And okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because I kind of skipped over that. You're a home service business owner. So you're not just a guy who said, oh, I have an idea, I think it'll work. You ran the company, scaled it up. You said you had 15 vans on the road. That's huge. So you know exactly what needs to be done in a company, right?
Yeah, I've been in those trenches. And honestly, like it even goes further than that. Like I've made the transformation in my own company. That's how Ninja VA came, is like I had 4 full-time CSRs reporting into this very office, this brick and mortar that I'm in here today. And we were going through our busy season, and those 4 individuals, they were nice and all, but the flaws were significant. And, one was like hyperly emotional. I think she had like baby daddy drama that was coming into work, and she would just leave hysterically multiple times throughout the day, just in tears. And it's just like, I swear I'm a nice guy, but like this is really hard to build with. And then I had another guy, he just moved at a snail's pace. And there again, I'm paying him 20, I don't know what it was, 25, 26 bucks an hour. Yeah. And another lady, she couldn't get the details down. Like there was 1 week where literally this was kind of what broke it all. 1 week, we got 2 calls, identical calls. Our crews were out cleaning the wrong property because somebody just inputted the address wrong. And sure enough, we get a call from this random, stranger asking us why our guys are up on the roof. And that was like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm overpaying and just getting vast under delivery. So like I blame myself first, but I went through and I cleaned house. And that was the revamp that I did internally in my own company. In the end, I had 4 full-time virtual assistants working for us offshores.
Wow.
And they did everything from the moment the phone rang, booking the job, getting the quote prepared. Like at the very most, they would send a screen grab of just like, hey, this is what I think the quote should be. Give them a thumbs up in the Slack channel, and they would take it from there. So it was so refreshing. It was such a breath of fresh air.
And these are good. So if you think about it, okay, so I'm here in the United States in North Carolina. When you talk about $9 to $10 an hour, oftentimes these are underqualified jobs sometimes, right? But if you're talking about someone in the Philippines, these are high quality people, right? So this isn't just someone that, flipping burgers. That's an honorable job. I'm not, but you understand what I'm saying is,
well, and what's really cool is I've actually backpacked through the Philippines. So I've seen it firsthand. And like, these are socially responsible jobs where, if you're paying $9 to $11 per hour in the Philippines, they're getting paid the equivalent of what a dentist makes over there. So we have people like climbing over each other to try and get these highly coveted positions. So really what we've done is we've created a situation where we're searching for the 1 in 200 initial applicants. And when you have a hiring funnel that does that, you just get the highest caliber, most detail-oriented, most engaged individual, So that's kind of what we're bringing to light here.
Yeah, and that quality person is hard to find. So if you're saying someone is already finding them, right, and then you're helping place them, which is why I've seen when I would recommend and they would get placed through you, and they would say, I would get on these calls, say, Michael Brandon was amazing, and they say, I love my VA. And I know because the level of vetting, if you're saying we want to find the 1 out of 200, that doesn't even happen when you're hiring a CSR here.
No.
Right? You
No.
might get 10 applicants and then you're trying to get that down to one, and the first 10 weren't even that good in the first place. Not in every situation, I mean, I praise the Lord for my office manager. I mean, she's incredible. I hope she stays. But that's
Yeah.
not often the case.
No. Well, and the
Yeah.
cost of a bad hire is so significant to your business, to your family, to your mindset, to your energy level. Like it's so bad. So we want to avoid that if we can.
Yeah.
The other offer we always have is like what we've structured with Ninja VA. Like Christopher Godwin is our director of sales and operations. He's out of Delaware. And we always say he's your real estate agent for your virtual assistant. So the same way you navigate the whole process of buying or selling a home with a realtor, he's going to do that with you right by your side. And he's one SMS away from any questions that you might have. So we're not just going to like kick you out the side, because a lot of our clients, plumbers, electricians, HVAC, what have you, they might not have even ever hired an admin person, let alone a virtual admin person. So the whole idea is a little daunting and a little bit like, for lack of a better term, foreign to them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yet we're going to bridge that gap, right? Every step of the way.
And speaking of foreign, some of the misconceptions is, so in the Philippines, they speak English as good as you and I do, right?
1 in 200 do, right?
Yeah.
And that's a huge plug into what we're evaluating, right? Because call it like it is, depending on where you're located, if it's small town or, some of your clients might be a little more judgmental. And that's something that is like probably the highest consideration for us in bringing down that initial candidate pool and getting you with somebody who, really is easy to connect with your client base.
Amazing.
So that's just a part of it, right?
Amazing.
Yes, sir.
So what type of tasks, do you say, hey, this is a company that's looking to get a VA, whether they're small or big or whatever, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, I don't know if this works for me because I don't even know what the VA would do. What kind of tasks have you been seeing the VAs doing, or you would say, hey, you can use this person for this?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I got a free giveaway for your listeners. So if you just go to ninjava.com/guide, I put together a 20-page ebook that answers this question. What can a VA do in a service business? And, with technology currently being what it is in terms of bridging us together, the understanding is they're going to be working graveyard shift, their time to be on your local time zone. And ultimately what that means is, they can do everything in terms of what a CSR, customer service rep, would do, moving your customers through the pipeline, preparing quotes, sending out invoices, applying payments, relaying messages almost on like a assistant basis to you to again, further propel you to what makes sense in the company's journey, and then beyond that, they can really have almost like superpowers, if you will. Like I have 4 full-time VAs now. 2 of them are HR managers for Ninja VA. One of them is a computer programmer building out the back end of Ninja VA, because we've really taken like a software approach. So you get like a portal, you can see your VA when they're logged in, you can see what, even down to like screen grabs of what they're working on every 3 minutes. Like it's really cool.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then I have a full-time video editor. So there's a ton of skill and an ability. And when it's accessible through something like Ninja VA at, again, $9 to $11 an hour, it really just serves as such an ability to propel you and your business forward.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So you mentioned there's even a point to where there's screen grabs and you can see what they're doing, and what percentage of companies that have office people here, they don't even have that ability?
No.
Right.
Well, and be careful too, because something like that, some people are like, oh, I trust everyone. It's like, well, it's good to have this in place and not need it rather than need it and not have it available. Yeah. Right. So it's the trust but verify thing. And there's a lot of places you can get a VA in 2025, but nothing that's this specific to, again, the struggles that we're up against as home service and trades individuals.
Yeah, because it's very rare to find someone who says, and we see this issue sometimes with marketing agencies and stuff like that, where, these guys come in, be really good at their job. They may know how to market, but there's a language barrier, not actual language, but in what my company does as a home service and what you do as a marketer. But when you have someone who was sat in that seat, You know
Yes, sir.
exactly what needs to be done. You understand the language of a home service company. So when you're vetting people, you're able to say, okay, this VA would be good for a home service company because this, or
Exactly.
this guy is really, really good, but I don't think he'll fit in a home service company because of this. So you're doing all that. And I think that's what makes Ninja VA special. Not to mention you coach businesses and help them grow. So you even understand it to a deeper level, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're seeing everything from the lens of a home service and trades business, right? And I think that's the secret sauce because really, if you have a generic kind of one size fits all VA agency that doesn't have any tech or any sort of exhaustive, super built out hiring funnel, you're going to get matched up with somebody who's just kind of there. They're present, they're okay, but they're very limited in terms of what they can actually do for you. And it's already kind of enough of a shift in your company to even induce a Ninja VA into your company. Like there's a few things you got to get in place. So to do that with somebody who's like mediocre just makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned we briefly chatted right before the call came on about the power of an owner to be able to step back from things that you probably shouldn't be doing. And then it helps your company grow. And we have a lot of that where a VA can take over even some of the random things that you think only you can do as an owner, you know? I mean, as an owner, you should be doing, dreaming big, taking over the next city next to you, being at the Chamber of Commerce, you are with the mayor,
Yes.
invoicing your customer and reminding them of the payment and then doing all that. I mean, the VAs can handle this stuff, it.
Yeah. And like I'm a loyal follower of Dan Martell, buy back your time. And
Hmm.
his saying is if you can get somebody to do something 80% as good as you, then that's 100% awesome.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
feel like as the early version of an entrepreneur, obviously we think we're the best and we got to do everything and our hands are in everything. And, we're slow to judge ourselves because self-reflection is difficult. But the
Yeah.
reality is you're not doing as good of a job at everything as individuals in kind of those key positions. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think delegation is very important.
Yeah. In delegation, even at the beginning, I've noticed myself through my hiring process. So I've been in business 20 years. I've owned my HVAC company
That's
20 years.
awesome.
And I remember my first employee I mean, he was a good guy. I don't know if it was, if maybe I wasn't that good at hiring. But then my next employee, I was a little bit better at delegating. And then the next one, I was a little bit better. So it's one of those things where you don't want to let your mind stop you and say, okay, well, the VA thing sounds really good, but I'm not ready yet, but I'm not. No, you will get better. You have to delegate. So it's not
Yeah.
something you wait on, especially if you're small one man and you're not answering the phones or you're not. I think one of the worst things is you're doing work and you're not billing, right? You can't afford to not do it now. So you do it and then you will get better over time at telling the VA, oh, actually run this report. Oh, actually run this. And then you'll work with them. They'll work with you. You'll get better and better and better. But
Yes.
it's not something to just wait and wait and wait and wait. Right.
No, and to your point, it's like a muscle, and it's like, are you just going to avoid building out the muscle? Or I also like the analogy, like it's like a floor, right? I was fortunate enough to come across what was eventually an amazing virtual assistant. She eventually served as our office manager. And I got to the point where I was just like, I don't really want to do this business if it doesn't involve you or someone very similar to you. Like, I don't want to regress back to the point where I'm answering all the phones or doing all the tediousness or all the details, whatever. I just want to go sell. I want to introduce the company and represent it. I want to hire and mentor people on our team.
Right.
And you get to that point where you're like, nope, this is my new floor. And no matter what, we're going to figure out the next step, but we're not
Yeah.
going backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love it. And that's one of my things as an owner is, and when we coach companies, you sometimes in the coaching industry, you'll hear a lot of like, oh, revenue, 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 get to 1 million, get to 2 million, get to 3 million. And that's all good and it can be done, but everyone doesn't have the same why. Okay. So for me, the company we've grown, but I don't only care about the money. What I want is I want to spend time with my 3 boys. I want to
Yes.
spend time with my wife. That's my currency, right? Not only
Yeah.
that, but I want to give back to the community. I cannot give back to my community if I'm in the truck from 9 to 5, and then from 5 to 6, I'm invoicing people. And then from 6 to 8, I'm following up on this. And then I'm working till 10 or 11, right? I can't make money like that. I can't spend time with my family like that. So for me, I put the technicians in place. I put the office people in place, not just so I can be some rich mogul, but so that I can have balance in my life, so that I can have revenue. There's a organization in town we sponsor called the Tulsa Initiative. They mentor young boys and they teach them business and they teach them life. And you should meet some of these boys. You'll fall in love with them. I couldn't be involved with them when I wasn't delegating and I was working 12, 13, 14 hours. And I couldn't grow the company and make enough money to say, here's a check for this event. And this is what this kind of delegation does for you. You get the VA. They start taking these tasks off your plate. They start making the business more efficient. You start billing, you start answering the phone, you start growing, and then now you can turn your head to the next thing that you want to build, right?
Yeah. Love it. And like the cool thing now is like when I started my business back in 2008, like there was very limited options in terms of answering service or virtual assistants. Like the technology just hadn't evolved to a point where this was even feasible. Now there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Like there's even a service that gets you this on a silver platter. And some of our most successful placements have been people that are like literally one-man band, or it's like their first year in business. And they just get fundamentally, I'm going to focus on the higher level, higher value activities in my company, the ones that are specific and special to what I can do. And all the menial, the trivial, the repetitive, I just got to get somebody else in that place. Even if that means like today equals 0 and we don't have a client base, we don't have a track record, but on a higher level, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the I'm just going to wait and see. It's like, well, man, your most valuable asset is just slipping by every single day and the days turn into weeks, turn into months. Yeah. So what are we waiting for?
Yeah. And you get yourself removed from it. One of the clients that I coached that got a VA from you, I won't name them on the show, but they're just two people in the company, husband and wife, amazing people, and they got a VA, and it just freed them up so much. Not only that, but it removes a lot of emotional decisions from them because the VA just does what you ask them to do. So when I have someone that owes me $50,000 and I've already talked to them a couple of times, I'm nervous, I don't want to bug them, and then the VA is just going to do what you ask them to do.
Or you're raising prices by 18%.
Right.
Yeah. Like we're not good at that as leaders of our own operation.
Right.
But somebody who's plugged in, it's just a script. It's basic. It's straightforward.
Yeah, you do it. And it's, I have my technicians. I have customers that I've had for 15, 20 years. And my prices are not near when I started 20 years ago. So when I face these customers and my company has grown, things have changed, I have a bleeding heart. I'm going to just say, oh, don't worry about it, but the technicians are there. They just know the price, right? So, and this is that sort of thing. And it's that small company, just a husband and wife that get the VA from you. I mean, I jumped on the call and they just said, oh my gosh, the VA is amazing. So now his Chamber of Commerce meetings, he can do what he loves. I don't want to say all the details, but he can do the part of the business that he loves to do. Right.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, like it's not all about dollars and cents. Dollars and cents still makes sense. You're not sacrificing by any means. In fact, again, it's less than half the cost of any local alternative with all the benefits. But then, if you want to get in shape or faith is important to you or family or like whatever it is, like it's literally just a giant math problem that you just have to say, yeah, let's go ahead with it. And it'll shape from there.
We've covered a lot of things. We still have a couple minutes to go, about 15 minutes. So some of the things that we've covered, and let me know if we missed anything. So one, you're getting good, high quality, almost 1 out of 200 people for a fraction of the cost that you would pay. You're getting people who are vetted. The hiring process is already done. You're getting it from someone who knows the business. I mean, 15 vans out there. It's almost like a no-brainer, right? What else am I missing? What are some of the common questions that people have when they come to you on the onboarding?
Yeah. So I think even the way we present it is really quite novel and helpful. What we do is we'll basically, after you sign up, you'll get instant access to what we call Ninja School. And basically, it's a whole library of videos that will get you and your business ready for a virtual assistant to sign on board. So it's actually
Wow.
shot in this room. This is the backdrop. And it's me just kind of pouring my heart and soul in terms of, again, how to get you and your business ready for a VA. Because for a lot of us, it's a little bit of a scary step to take, but we're going to guide you through that. Usually it takes 2 to 3 days. And then we'd send you a text and just say, hey, Michael, we got some virtual assistants in your account ready for review. And then this tab will show. Basically from there, you can click into them and we have what is almost like a visual resume put together. So it's really cool. They got like a hero pose where you see like Sally and where she's located in the Philippines. And then we have her DISC assessment, her personality type, her past work history. And then we actually have a pre-recorded interview with Sally, the prospective VA, and one of our hiring managers. So you can see her speak and like get a feel for her energy and just the general vibe. And then you see, the custom assessment that we put together, again, specific to home service and trades. You see how well she did on each of those points. So you kind of see what caliber you're getting and where she's going to be very strong and maybe where there's not as much. And then it just shows you some open-ended answers to some larger questions to see how well they write and speak. And all you have to do is you just hit the button and it says request an interview rather. And from there, we'll line up a time where it's you, it's us, and it's the VA. We recommend we do at least 2, even if you love how Sally looks and sounds and, everything about her. She's the person you've been looking for. I still recommend let's do 2 interviews and we'll do 30-minute interviews back to back. So inside of an hour plus another probably 10 minutes reviewing the 3 or 4 contenders that we put in your account, you're at like hour 11 and you're ready to make a decision. So it's incredibly efficient on your time.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay, so I have a couple questions to ask you in our last 10, 15 minutes or so, around 10 minutes. All right, so we got some people listening to the show. You've coached businesses, you've ran your business, you've had wins, you've had losses. You get a guy pulls you aside in a coffee shop. You're sitting in a coffee shop. Young guy pulls up. He says, hey, I own a home service company. I heard about you. Can you give me some advice? Right then, you don't have prep time. Your coaching experience, your owning experience. What do you tell them?
I would say from just like the highest level, you got to figure out where you want to be medium and long term. From there, I would reverse engineer a path to get you to that place. And likely, if that involves you not being stuck on the truck, I would say you got to start to come up with the systems and the documentation that will provide a situation where the skill and the discretion requirements to fulfill in your current position, i.e. being on the truck, is as low as possible. It's the McDonald's model, right? And if we can provide them with those resources and those systems that get those people isolated and hired, then that's going to get you to where you want to be.
Amazing.
I would say that's the first thing, right?
Wow.
That's high level. That's flying at 30,000 feet.
So last question, really quick. So you've reverse engineered before companies. What's probably the most common thing when you start reverse engineering? You're always going to run into this most common thing that's bottlenecking someone.
I mean, at the end of the day, high level, you sell the proceeds of your technician's time and you need to put work on the schedule. So it's always going to be a bit of a teeter-totter. But I think if you have, again, the systems to tell how much work you have, i.e. like a capacity chart, and you know kind of what your booking volumes are, and you know how many respective technicians or work vehicles you need, then we want to just kind of keep that balance in alignment. And hopefully your capacity will be enough to get you to your goals. So I would say blanking on either one of those things, either you got too many people and not enough work, or too much work and not enough people, is so typical in the early days. So you need those measurement systems to know exactly how each one is currently performing.
Wow, that's amazing. I know I can pick your brain forever because, if you have all this experience, you're running multiple companies. Ninja VA is just the one that we talked about today. So I appreciate you being on. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from it. Like I said, I've experienced companies that you have placed before. So I know it. I've seen it firsthand. Thanks for coming on the show. everyone who's watching this, I'll put the link. I think I have a couple notes here. I'm going to put ninjava.com/guide, and we'll put it all linked in there so that you can find him. Is there any last words, Brandon?
Yeah. Like high level, my mission here is to help 1,000 entrepreneurs to each save 1,000 hours of time. 1,000,000 hours of impact is what I'm doing behind the scenes, through the vehicle of Ninja VA. So I very much appreciate the opportunity to just speak about it. When I reflect back on my 15 years of owning and scaling and growing my own home service business, this was one of two things that just totally made life easier. Like, business is hard. It's almost like things are stacked against you sometimes. But the concept of virtual assistants was one of two things where, looking back on it, it was literally just a no-brainer. So I did set up a discount code for you and your listeners. So if you just use Johnson100, the way we basically structure it at Ninja VA is there's a one-time placement fee. And with that discount code, you're going to save $100 on the placement. The placement fee is $995, so it brings it down to $895. And essentially, with that considered, that you get this high-level individual for less than half the cost of a local employee, you break even inside of 2 weeks. And then after that, you're just paying $9 to $11 an hour. It's an incredibly efficient way to do this, and it's going to free you up to do some other things that you deem to be important in your journey here.
Wow, amazing. I know this is going to be one of the most impactful interviews that I've done, because I know the value of putting someone in place. So you guys know where to reach him. Everything is going to be in the description. Thank you, Brandon, for coming on the show. And thank you, everyone, for watching.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael.